Merry Vidmas, everyone. Welcome to Vidmas number 13. I'm your host, CastleGate, and today I will be showing you a game of Starcraft 2, specifically a custom map on Starcraft 2 called Line Tower Wars. The premise of this map is actually very similar to the premise of Bloons TD Battles. In fact, I think Ninja Kiwi got their inspiration from maps like this in Starcraft 2 and from earlier in Warcraft 3, and even I think there was one or two maps made in the original Starcraft back when Brood Wars was big. There were Wars maps back then as well. I think Spawn Wars, but anyway, I digress. Let's have a look at this particular one. This was a popular one. Basically, you're on a map with anywhere between 2 and 7 opponents, so 8 of you all up, and you have a choice. You can either go ahead and use the towers at the very bottom of your base to go ahead and send some creeps over to the person who is to your right, and in doing so, you increase the amount of income you receive every time the next income meter ticks down. Or you can go ahead and build some towers to build up a defense to defend against the creeps that the person to your left is sending to you. That's basically it. It's a bit of a delicate balance, actually. You don't want to always just be defending, because if you do, eventually as the game progresses, you're not going to have anywhere near as much income as the others, therefore you're not going to be able to catch up with, basically making your defenses strong enough to beat the creeps that are being sent to you. Also, you don't want to send only creeps, because even though your income will get high, you will quickly lose because you cannot stand to lose lives. It's kind of a juggling act, actually, because what you aim to do is you aim to basically get your income up and hopefully have your creeps go through the maze of the person to your right so that you steal lives from them. That's right. It's not just a life counter that can go down. Your life counter can go up if you are stealing lives from your opponent. So long as you're, stealing as many lives as you're losing, I mean, ideally you would be gaining more. But, so long as you keep your life counter around about the same and your income is going up and your maze isn't, somewhat pathetic, then basically you're in good stead to be one of the people who ends up being in the leaderboard, basically leading the rest of them. Unfortunately, I think I came like 3rd or 4th in this particular game out of 6, because honestly I hadn't played this in ages, and I was kind of trying to relearn as I was going what I was doing. And also, I think this particular version is a more updated version than the version that I used to play a lot, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, back when Starcraft 2 was new. So yeah, unfortunately I didn't win this one. Sorry guys, but I did okay, all things considered. Having said that, looking at the income, 783 income, and everyone else is on pretty much over 1,000, except for Blue. Blue looks like they never ever send anything. Blue in lane 1. In fact, I'm looking around just trying to see where things are, how people are going. I was actually looking around for where to go ahead and do some special upgrade towers. With the towers that you put down, there is a small choice of different types of towers that you can put down, basic towers. And from there, you just upgrade them all until you get to a certain point. I think it's like upgrade 5 or 6 or something like that. And then you are upgrading into towers that turn into special towers. Special towers, there is different types of special towers that you can have, and you go ahead and you upgrade a certain type of special tower using your gas. Okay? With the other towers, normal towers, you use your minerals. And of course, you get more minerals every time the income timer ticks down to 0, and you get whatever income is showing on yours. Actually, looking back in hindsight right now, I was doing quite badly. I've got 1.5 grand income, and there are people with more than double that. So yeah, not very good. I think I was getting a little bit worried because I was losing a few lives, but I wasn't losing that many. 43 is okay. That's not too bad, all things considered. I was spending too much on my defense at this point in time. You don't want to do that when playing this map, guys. What you want to do is you want to Send a few, defend a little. Send a few, defend a little. And if you can afford to do it, send. Preferably with the intent to steal lives from your opponents as well, so you can send stronger units. Or if you want to just income and you don't mind annoying the hell out of everyone else on the map, you can lag the game out by sending lots and lots and lots of little creeps. There is an inbuilt game limit on the map as to how many creeps you can send at a time before it stops you, just as like an anti-lagging solution, which I think is very good because, let's be honest, even with this game being played back at twice speed, you can see the game was starting to really lag. So, yeah, this game, it can lag, especially when you've got potentially at the most 8 people sending lots and lots of units at the same time, which are being shot at by lots and lots of towers and walking through really large mazes. That's a lot of computing for the computers to do. So, yeah, it's not exactly ideal. Look at the lag. Unbelievable. But yeah, nah, apart from the lag, this game is fun. Games usually last around 40-45 minutes each. Usually the herd thins out quite quickly. I think by around this time, which is about the 15 to 20 minute mark, you start to find some players who are probably less experienced or skilled on this map. They will start to lose, and then you'll start to get more and more of a divide, I suppose, between one, sometimes 2 people will sort of pull out ahead quite a lot in terms of how many lives they have and especially how much income they have, whereas the people who who are not part of that group, that divide usually just continues to grow until the people who are not doing as well eventually get pushed out within the next 5 or 10 minutes. Because honestly, if you've got lots of income, then you can elect to try and save up that income over a couple of incomes, and then you can just send a lot of really tough units, which, with a little bit of luck, will not just go through the maze of the person next to you. Once they go through and the person next to you leaks all of those creeps and loses those lives and you gain those lives, those creeps don't just disappear. No. They go to the very next person's maze. So ideally what you want to do is you want to send a bunch of units that are really tough. They survive going through a few people's mazes. So you basically steal a lot of lives, and also you, in the same process, you scare a lot of people into potentially wasting a lot of their money spending on defenses as opposed to spending it on going ahead and sending more stuff, which again feeds into you making more of a divide between you and them in terms of income. So you look right now, you've got orange. Blue's gone. That's perfectly fine. I'm doing pretty terribly, actually. I think this was actually the moment where I realized I was doing terribly, and I'm like, screw it, just send. So I sent lots and lots of units. And I think that I was regretting that instantly, just because look at the amount of lag. Again, the frame rate when I was playing is half of what you're seeing right now. So, barely playable, if I'm going to be honest. I've got, 67, just under 68,000 income, and also my lives were not looking great as well, 25. It didn't help that the person who was sending to me just happened to be the person who had pretty much comfortably pulled away in this game. I think also the person at the bottom of the list, person in yellow on the lane that's closest to the left, they also kind of pulled away as well, but not quite as much. But they're doing quite well. Their income is looking pretty sweet, and they don't have a lot of lives, but I think this is where I lose, isn't it? No. 20 lives remaining. Yeah, 11 lives. This is where I lose. That's me on the left, and that's me gone. So there you go. I didn't even survive, what is that, 26 or 28 game minutes? 26 game minutes. 27. And I was out. So there you go. Yeah, look at the income for orange. So much. So ridiculous. And look at the lives as well. There we go. 2 people remaining. and it doesn't look so bad, if I'm going to be honest. But I suppose that's one of the small pitfalls with this particular type of map, because of the way that income and the monsters' hit points and all of that, and also the towers and their expenses and how they hit and all of that. It's kind of like the way they all ramp up. It's once you get a bit of a lead, you can keep on extending that lead, so you get a bit of a runaway effect, unless you make some mistakes and you stop sending waves of monsters. Eventually, you're just going to win. So, even though Orange looks like he's kind of, sort of a little bit ahead, he's actually quite a bit ahead. Looking at that score, what is that? 9,000? 900,000? 1 million. There we go. A good, comfortable 200,000 more than purple. That basically means, and I think they're very experienced with this map, they've dialed in on exactly what monsters do the most, have the most chance of running through the entire map without dying. Basically, they're going to be able to send an extra at this point, almost 300,000 minerals worth of monsters again and again and again, which means slowly they're going to be sapping more and more and more lives away from the purple player. So it's kind of, honestly, it's locked in. The mazes they have are pretty similar. They're almost identical, and they've also gone for the same special types of towers as well. They've gone for the one that different to the one I've had, although actually this person has beams on the outside edges, whereas on the inside it looks like they've gone for the pyro thing that goes through spine crawlers, cannons, and eventually something else. I think it's Immortals is probably the top tier weapon, and they've got very short range, only 4 range, but they hit really hard. Whereas the beam ones, they're the opposite. They've kind of got a bit more range, but they don't hit as hard, and they don't hit as often as well, or something like that. I don't know. Like I said, there are some special towers that you can choose from. You use your gas to go ahead and choose from them. I think there's like, 3 or 4 base special tower choices, and then there's the upgraded versions from them again, which you also have to put even more gas into. So all up, you could spend 8 gas all up, I suppose. So you'd have to single-handedly beat just about everyone to get enough gas to unlock all of the special towers, but you don't really need to. You just need one particular type, so that's 2 gas all up to completely unlock that type, and then maybe 2 more gas to unlock a second type if you want to get a little bit more range going down the sides, just like what just like what the other person, Orange, was doing before. And to get gas, all you have to do is be the person who runs the creep through someone's maze that brings them to 0 lives. If you have the creep that makes them lose, you get not only their life, but you also get their A gas as a reward. So it's a bit of luck, really. And again, that's another good reason why you want to go ahead and save up and send lots of really, really high hit point creeps, because the more mazes they go through, the more chances you have of actually getting gas as a result of them leaking through someone who had a weak defense and not many lives. There we go. Honestly, look at the divide. So we've got... okay. So they're just spending their money at different intervals. You know what? Actually, it's really strange because, the lag is terrible, but looking at the incomes and the lives, it seems fairly even. And honestly, I was actually quite surprised by that. Oh, there we go. So Orange has pulled ahead a little bit, but when the income comes in next, yeah, they're about even now, which is really strange. So their mazes are relatively even in terms of takedown power. Their income is practically the same at this point, which is kind of strange. I'm actually quite disappointed in Orange for not pulling away even further. They could have and should have done that, but they didn't. And the lives are very similar. So for the purposes of this video, I decided to not bother to go ahead and stick around any further, because it was just taking too long. So So there you have it. That is Lion Teddy Wars in a nutshell. This game, honestly, between these two people, could have gone on for another hour. So I'm not going to torture you with that, but I think you get the general gist. It's pretty fun. It's like Bloons TD battles, except instead of playing against one other person, you can play up to 7 other people. And it's a little bit fun. It's a little bit random. Sometimes you can get unlucky. Sometimes you can get stuck with someone who's, between a couple of people who are really good, who, maybe the person to your right is spending a lot on defenses. Maybe the person to your left doesn't have to spend much on defenses because the person to the left of them is not sending many units. So they send lots of units to you, and then all you have to do is basically defend, and you never really get much income. That can happen, unfortunately. So it is a little bit of luck when you first join these games on this particular map, but you know what? Aside from that, it's a really fun map. Make sure your computer's modern, though. This was recorded on a computer that, in all honesty, is about 7 or 8 years old now. So, yeah, it was an old 6-core AMD Athlon XP or something like that, with what used to be a reasonable graphics card back in the day, but, yeah, it's kind of average now. So, yeah, if you have StarCraft 2 and you like this sort of game, or you intrigued with this sort of game, please, by all means, give it a crack and let me know how you go. And let me know if you like this map and you've played it plenty of times in the past. If you played TDs on strategy games, this definitely would have been one of the ones that you would have played. Let me know what could I have done to do better in that game. I'm pretty sure I know, but hey, I'm always looking for advice because, yeah, I wasn't really happy with that run. And also, if you like Vidmas, please, by all means, subscribe, rate the video, put your comments down below, tickle that bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Catch you later, guys.